Subaru Ascent. It's the highest towing rated Subaru ever made, with a maximum towing capacity of 5,000 pounds if properly equipped. But if you bought one of these that's equipped with the RAB or reverse automatic braking system, or considering buying one, you should know that it does cause some complications when you're trying to back up with a trailer, because there's no way for the user to permanently disable RAB via software. This contrasts with other Subaru models, such as the new Outback, that does allow the user to permanently disable that via their touchscreen radio. So in this video, I'm going to be investigating some of the edge cases that are mentioned in the user manual, along with some of the theories I've seen flying about online as to how one could permanently disable RAB on the Ascent if it's equipped. This is going to pertain to all Ascent Touring and Limited models, along with any Ascent Premium models that had the RAB equipped as an option. So reverse automatic braking on the Subaru Ascent. So you have all of these little sensors here that are sending signals out and then waiting for them to bounce back to the vehicle. When they sense these signals coming in, that's when it actually shows up on your radio screen as you're backing up. Hey, there's an object coming. These are what is receiving that signal. So when you're towing, obviously they're still sending out signals unless you've disabled it. And so that means that if the trailer is right here, it's still being perceived as an obstacle by these sensors, which is why it's so important to disable them. The unfortunate part is that, of course, you have to disable them manually each time in the radio screen as you're backing up. So it's great to find out if there's a way to disable them automatically. So to collect data for my experiment, I took every item I had available to me that would fit in a 2-inch receiver hitch on the Subaru Ascent, and I collected weight data for it, and I calculated how far out the center of mass of that object would be from the rear axle to get an idea of the torque it's putting about the rear axle, and then I drove up and down my driveway, forward one way and reversing back, to see if RAB applied the brakes or was turned off by each of these objects. These accessories include a 4-inch drop hitch weighing in at 12 pounds, a 2-inch drop hitch weighing 9 pounds, a 2-inch hitch receiver extender with a step weighing 14 pounds, a KUA NV 2.0 bike carrier weighing 52 pounds, and an Aluma 5x8 foot utility trailer which weighs 350 pounds but applies a tongue weight of about 47 pounds, including that 4-inch drop hitch. Alright, here we go. Unloaded car. Alright, down the hill we go. Shift into reverse. RAB remains on. This will be our test with the platform step. As you can see, RAB has disabled itself automatically. Alright, this is going to be our test with the Aluma 5x8 foot cargo trailer. Hopefully everything's recording. RAB is on. There's some resistance there. And there you go. That is finally what it looks like. So I had to get it to turn a little bit in order for it to do that. And it actually engages the parking brake, not your main brakes by the looks of it. Because of course your parking brake is on your rear axle, whereas most of your braking, although you do of course have disc brakes at the back, most of your braking occurs on your front. So that explains why this would work how it does. Let's try that again. And again, RAB comes on. All right. So let's talk about these results. The open receiver and the small hitches left RAB on. No surprise there. And the Aluma 5x8 foot trailer was a perfect example of how RAB intervenes if it does not get disabled automatically. But then, why did the bike carrier and even the hitch step disable RAB automatically? This rules out the theory of electrical resistance across the wiring harness, since I had the trailer plugged into the 4-pin wiring harness, but the bike carrier and the hitch step have no electrical connections. It also, to some extent, rules out tongue weight. The hitch step only weighs 14 pounds, which is way less than the tongue weight of the utility trailer. The owner's manual does say that RAB will disable automatically if the vehicle detects a change in ground clearance, also known as squat. But inducing squat by adding unnecessary weight or leverage would create unnecessary safety risks, and is therefore not a practical means of disabling RAB. This leaves us with surface area. The hitches and the utility trailer are all very slim, whereas the bike carrier and the hitch extender have a wide, flat surface for RAB to pick up. Let's see if we can test this hypothesis by modifying the cargo trailer to present similar surface area to the RAB sensors and see how the system reacts. cardboard. So RAB's back on. All right. Rearranged piece of cardboard. Aha! All right, so just by folding the piece of cardboard, we now have RAB turned off. Okay? So what does that tell us? Is that moving a piece of surface area right behind where a trailer hitch is supposed to be, that will turn off your RAB. But how can we actually use that to our advantage to set up our trailers to where RAB is automatically disabling? Turn off automatically? Okay, so no trailer connected, just a piece of cardboard is now stopping RAB from turning on. So just with this piece of cardboard, I'm now able to turn off RAB. I've adhered nothing to the vehicle. I have basically no tongue weight. This thing weighs 12 pounds. And this piece of cardboard is what makes or breaks RAB disabling. Okay, so now that we know that having the piece of cardboard all the way here will deactivate RAB, let's see how far back we can have a piece of cardboard for RAB to still turn off as a metric of how far you can have something like a toolbox or a spare tire mounted to your trailer so that maybe just your trailer can turn off RAB. I'm also going to be exploring just having a permanent solution right here with a little plate that you can zip tie onto your tow hitch, and that way whenever you're towing, RAB will be off. Whenever you're not towing, RAB will come back on as normal. So we're going to start right here and we're going to see how that goes. Alright, assuming that your box or whatever thing you're putting onto the frame of your trailer has a pretty perpendicular face that's able to bounce back to the ultrasound sensors in the RAB system. This is my baseline of how far it can possibly be from the back of your vehicle, because of course everyone uses a different type of hitch setup and their tongue looks a little different. So we're just going to go straight from how far is it to my bumper to the trailer, or even better, how far is it from the end of my OEM hitch to my obstacle in order to disable RAB. I'm going to also take a measurement of how wide we are here. So my piece of cardboard is 16 inches wide. So just to give you an idea of how wide of a piece I'm working with. And then, okay, so that's about in line. All right, I'm gonna go to the edge right here on the bumper. That's about parallel. Okay, and I am 17 inches away from the bumper of the vehicle. So if you can have something on your trailer that's this close, then you can get away with just mounting something onto your trailer to bounce off against these, and then the vehicle will start recognizing it as an obstacle. However, if you have, a complicated tongue like mine, that may not be an option. See, I've got, my wheel up front here, and then my coupler right here is already taking up all of this space, so I can't really mount anything else here, which is why I'm more interested in a solution that is native to the hitch, not to the trailer. Okay, so this is going to be our little low-tech arts and craft assignment for how to disable RAB on the Subaru Ascent, even without having a trailer connected, just by attaching something to the hitch. So here is a piece of coroplast. You can buy this stuff for 20 bucks for a 4-foot by 8-foot sheet at Home Depot. It's plastic made into a sort of cardboard-like material. So it's not super strong, but it is totally water resistant. It's not going to mold or rot. And as far as just being tethered in and of itself to something, it'll be pretty strong. So let's measure out a 12-inch by 18-inch piece. I'm going to do this in a pretty rudimentary fashion. So I'm just going to mark at 18 inches, and I'm going to go from there. And I'm going to mark at 12 inches. And of course, I realize that none of this is actually going to come out square. And it really doesn't need to. It doesn't need to be perfect. Then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut out this panel. Okay, and now that I have my knife, I'm going to cut out this panel. So, utility knife works great for this kind of stuff. If you don't have anything to guide you, your cuts aren't going to come out completely straight, but as we said, it really doesn't matter. So there's that side, and I'm going to come around to cut the other side. And again, and of course in one of these angles, you're actually going to be able to cut along the grooves instead of against them. Sort of like the grain of wood in some ways, actually. So it cuts much nicer along the grain. And there we go. So we have this nice little panel, and that's going to be what we're going to use to block our RAB signals in order to have it deactivate by default. Okay, so now that you have your roughly 12-inch by 18-inch panel cut out of coroplast or a similar material, you can go ahead and lay out your measuring device across it. We're going to define our center line here, so that's, this 9-inch marker here. And then we're going to go about 1.5 to the left of it, and then 1.5 to the right of it. And then we're going to try to mark these lines roughly. And it's going to be along these, actually, that I'm going to try to drill out some little holes, something like these. And once we've picked a few points along these lines to drill out, we can zip tie it to the back of our hitch. Okay, so once you have all that figured out, you can take even a modestly pointy object. I'm going to use a Phillips head screwdriver for this, and you just kind of need to chew out a little bit of material there. It might flop on you. You can even brace it, just make sure your fingers aren't in the way. And just twisting, you can create your own hole. No power tools required. They might be nice if you have a drill sitting around. And again, and we're going to come down here, we're going to do the same old thing. So you kind of sink it in, twist it around, there, sink it in, twist it around, there. Okay, now you have 4 holes that you can thread a zip tie through. Okay, so now that you have your piece of coroplast here, grab a couple of zip ties, and then I think it's pretty obvious what we're going to try to do here. So you can just slink a zip tie through here, and then through the front. And then we're just gonna apply that here. And around the back, we're gonna connect the zip tie. We're gonna wanna get that as taut as we can reasonably get it. I mean, already, it's pretty strong. Just for kicks and giggles though, I'm gonna go ahead and get a second one through here. So at this point, you know, you have a piece of plastic affixed by a piece of plastic to a painted piece of steel. None of this is going to rot or fade away. Wind might flop this around a fair bit, but it shouldn't just come undone or go flying down the highway. And now let's make sure that this still deactivates RAB. As you can see, our piece of coroplast is disabling RAB, just like we wanted. So, okay, great, you're saying. With a super low dropper hitch, this is a 4-inch drop, I can tether up something like this. But what if you're not using a dropper? What if you A, have a rise, or maybe just a flat bar, and you're still stuck with RAB? Well, one thing you could do is you could fold and cut a piece like this to suit your specific needs with your specific hitch. You could zip tie it straight to the frame of your trailer, just like with our experimental piece of cardboard, as long as it's close enough. Or, if you're really low tech, I do have one more solution in mind. So let's say you've just bought your trailer and you don't know about the little hack with the piece of coroplast and you just need to get home. Well, there's a little piece in the Subaru owner's manual talking about RAB that states that if the RAB sensors are blocked off by snow or some other debris, that RAB will automatically disable itself, which makes sense. So what we can do is we can simulate snow or some other debris by simply blocking off our RAB sensors. You want to be very careful to not actually smudge your tape into the sensor itself. For one thing, you risk damaging the sensor. And for another thing, in my testing, if you actually try to push the tape into the sensor, it becomes sort of a part of that surface, and RAB will start working despite having an adhesive connected directly to it. So make sure you have a little bit of gap in there. This is more just to limp you home than it really is to be a permanent solution, but I'm going to toss it out there as an option. This will be our tape over the RAB sensors test. So here we go. As you can see, there is nothing on the trailer. There is nothing on the hitch. The only thing that we have is some tape over our RAB sensors. And that's all it takes to disable RAB. And just to demonstrate the pretty obvious reversibility of an action like this, I'm also going to take these pieces of masking tape back off. So first of all, masking tape doesn't seem to leave any residue on the plastic portion of the Ascent's bumper. Peels off nice and easy. Gonna take off these other two pieces, and we're gonna now see if RAB comes back on. Here's the tape I just peeled off the back of the car, and here's reverse, and RAB's back on. That's with no key cycles. Oh, here I can. So, see? So that is with no key cycles, no hitching and unhitching. I literally just took the tape and I removed it from the back of the vehicle. So it really handles this on a per shift basis. And it's as simple as that, to block it and then unblock it for however long you need. Okay, so which of these methods would I suggest and why? So first of all, I'm not affiliated with Subaru, I don't work for your insurance company, and I'm not associated with any dealers, both for vehicles or trailer safety systems. So take my advice with a grain of salt, but here we go. So if I only had one trailer, I think what I'd want to do is I would want to just have an accessory on that trailer, somewhere around here. That way I could have a toolbox up here, maybe a spare tire if I don't have one already somewhere else, or just something, maybe a place to put my trailer locks or my chocks or something like that. Maybe an extra propane tank for an RV. So if I only had one thing I was dealing with, I'd probably go with this, just because then when I unhitch, I can still use my vehicle. Even if I leave the hitch connected to it, I can still back up and take advantage of RAB, even though I still have something sticking out of the back of it. If I had multiple trailers, I think what I would do is I would attach something to the back of my hitch method, like this. Obviously, if you have multiple different hitches with multiple different drops, you're gonna have to do this modification to multiple hitches. But the beauty of it is that it's super reversible. You snip off your zip ties, and it's really cheap to implement because you need one sheet of Coroplast or something similar to it, and that's about it. So you could do this as many times as you want for under $10 and it wouldn't be very hard. It's a bit of a hack, but it shouldn't cause any other implementations. Your license plate, of course, is up here, so you're not blocking it. You might need to make sure that if you swap hitches between vehicles, you may end up having, say on a pickup truck, this might cover a license plate that's right here, so that may not be so good for you if you're in that situation. Other than that, the cover up the RAB sensors option works in a pinch, but for a number of reasons I wouldn't recommend it. For one thing, if you disconnect everything and then you're just driving around town with your Ascent, well, now your RAB sensors are covered up, and then when you go to reverse, if you've turned all of your stuff back on, you're going to get that really nasty beeping noise coming at you from the dash, and your RAB won't work until you hop out of the car and peel off all of your pieces of tape or Velcro or whatever. So that wouldn't be as efficient in its implementation, but it will get you by in a pinch. So I really hope this helps someone out. I know it's still a bit of a hack of sorts, but it still is a lot easier than spending 3 seconds pressing an RAB button every time I shift into reverse. So, hope that helps. Have a good one.